ground rules. I think that you guys are pretty familiar with the ground rule concept, but I wanted to pick out some specific ones to encourage accountability in your teams. For one thing, rotate the role of the facilitator. Who does that? I see one or two. I see people shaking their heads. Oh, that's good. I wish I had done that. Because usually what do? We do it every single meeting. We take on that responsibility. Why do you think I suggest rotating that to increase accountability and create that culture?
I think with that, the team feels like they're needed, that they're valued.
They feel needed, they feel valued, and there's shared leadership and shared accountability. It's also amazing how much more they respect the role of the facilitator when they have to do it. Because isn't it easy to kind of kick back and be on your PDA and not pay attention and have side and all that when you're not the one standing up there? But when you have to get up there and do it and engage people and call this person down and get stuff up on the flip chart, you're like, wow, this isn't easy, and I really don't like it because he's not paying attention right now. So it changes their behavior, and it really elevates the performance of the entire group. So for our team, we literally, for every meeting, we did it alphabetically. For every single meeting, we had a different person play the role of the facilitator. And if for whatever reason you could not attend that particular meeting and you were supposed to facilitate, it was your responsibility to get a substitute and to have that person stand in for you for that meeting. Okay? So you want to do that. Another ground rule we always had was notify the team leader 48 hours prior to the meeting if you're not going to be available. People should not have this option of just not showing up. So you certainly want to talk about that. Anyone not able to attend must send a representative, not just any representative, but not just a warm body, but somebody authorized to make decisions for them. Have you had that experience, that frustrating experience where they sent a rep, but they can't spell the name of the company? They're like the college intern who just started 2 days ago. They don't know anything, they don't know anybody, they can't answer any questions, they can't make any decisions. So you really want to qualify that. The next one, I know it might seem a little silly, but this is just an example of an internal ground rule that we came up with that amazingly really helped accountability. We had this problem where we were all remote, so we did back-to-back conference calls. So literally, any given day, we might have 5 to 6 conference calls. And what we were noticing was every single conference call was starting like 10 to 15 minutes late. Because we probably start the call like maybe 5 minutes after the hour, but then somebody else would buzz in. Then you say, okay, who just joined? Then you say, okay, well, let me get you up to speed on what we talked about. And then as soon as you finish that, somebody else buzzed in. Okay, who just joined? And so you're repeating again. Isn't that frustrating? Yeah. Okay? So one ground rule we came up with was anybody who shows up late for conference calls or live meetings, no getting them up to speed. Okay? So that was one. Secondly, somebody got really frustrated on one of our calls one time, and I was so glad it wasn't me. They said, we really have to just change everybody's mindset about this because we were starting calls on the hour, so people started perceiving they had like 5 to 10 minutes grace period to actually get on the call. But if you think about that, 10 minutes a day times 5 calls, that's 50 minutes times 10 people. That's a lot of time and productivity you're wasting. So he said, we need to have a ground rule to stop that. He said, well, Jeff, what do you want to do? He said, okay, this is what we're going to do. From now on, whatever time we set for the call, you must be dialed into the bridge at least 5 minutes prior. So again, shifting the mindset. So if it's a 10 o'clock call, now you start thinking of it as 9:55 in terms of when you're actually dialing in. Because at 10 o'clock, we're going to do roll call, 10 o'clock on the dot. If you join that call after we call your name for roll call, you must sing a stanza of God Bless America on the call, okay? Now, it's a close-knit group. I probably wouldn't do this with my client, but I could not believe how well it worked. And one time, I was actually late dialing in, and I kind of tried to play it off. They were like, oh, no, Dana, we want to hear the whole thing. And I had to sing. I was never late again. Okay, I didn't care where I was going to dial into that call early so that I didn't have that problem. I mean, my watch just wasn't synced up 2 minutes, but it made a difference. So I was sure to call in early from now on. Another ground rule, ownership means ownership. And have a conversation around that. Talk about all the things that can go wrong and talk about what ownership really means and what we're going to expect of each other in the team. We talked about this a little earlier. PDA is not allowed in the meeting room. That's not necessarily a firm ground rule. I've had some teams where they say, hey, we're 24/7 emergency. We have to have cell phone access. And those groups did different things. They said, well, you know what, we're going to take technology breaks every 45 minutes. Or they came to the meeting in groups of 2 so that if one person got pulled out, there was still another person. So the point here is not to say that should be your ground rule, but the point is get some sort of ground rule around PDA, something that everybody could really buy into. Risk must be voiced and documented continuously. How many of you work in environments where people are thinking things, but they're not saying them? They have concerns. They may not agree with what you're saying, but just because they're silent, does that mean that we can assume they're on board? No, that's probably the main person plotting your demise, right after the meeting. People are not necessarily going to speak up. We can't assume that. And then if you throw hierarchy into the mix, what impact does that have? People either really clam up or they're just not honest. And I've been in too many meetings where they just won't tell the VP you got an ugly baby. Okay? But haven't you seen that where he's got like a pet project or a pet idea and throws it out there and says, yeah, I was thinking last night, I was golfing, I was thinking, maybe we should figure out how to turn peanut oil into jet fuel. What do you guys think?
Good idea.
Yeah, great idea. I wish I had come up with that, Bob. Oh, wow, that's amazing. And then as soon as the meeting's over, there's the meeting after the meeting. Everybody's over by the Coke machine. They're like, did you hear him? He is on crack. Okay? And that's when people start voicing these issues. So you have to have tools and techniques to ensure you pull that information out. One of the techniques I used to always use as a team leader, if we were starting a new task or a new project or a new effort, I'd pass out these large index cards. And then at the end of the kickoff meeting, I would always say, hey, I know we're new. I know that we're just getting started with this. I know there might be issues that you're concerned about, but you don't necessarily want to bring up in a public setting. What I want everybody to do is finish this statement for me. And as you walk out of the room today, there is a basket. I want you to just drop it into the basket. And I have these black markers, so everybody's very anonymous. Everybody's using the same marker or the same white card. The statement is this: the biggest concern I have about our team's success is what? Or you might say, the biggest barrier to our success, in my opinion, is what? And then I just let people walk out, they drop their card into the basket, and then after everybody's gone, I gather all that information, and it is a wonderful wealth of information that I probably would not have gotten otherwise. So you have to think about, how can I get more information about risk?